Hey Saber fans, it's Aaron of A&W Saber Services, and I have a Saber reveal for you today from a very limited run. It's a very, very nice Katarn Force Relics Katarn. This thing is a total beast. Let me go ahead and get the kill key out, boot it up for you. You can see the threads on it. Crazy long. Like what, inch and a half of threads?
My anger is all I have left. Anger and revenge.
You tell him, Katarn.
Hey, Cass.
I believe this is Ranger's Blade. Royal blue, blue, white LED. You'll see that I have activation on these switches, because there's nowhere else to put them.
Go and pray that I find your master before he finds you.
Lignin. And I have, I believe, 4 color profiles set up. Blue, royal blue, white, and then a mix of royal blue and blue. So that looks like the mix. There's royal blue. There's just blue. There's white. I believe that's a mix of all 3, actually. Yep, it's a mix of all 3. And there's the mix of royal blue and blue. Hope I didn't blind you too much with that.
I've got a feeling that things are about to get pretty nasty around here.
So as you can tell, it has great resonance. I have a Saberforge Outcast with me here as well, and it is like night and day as far as the look, quality, and feel. So, naturally, thicker. Not by a whole heck of a lot, but it's enough to allow a 28mm speaker. Chrome plating. Switches are ghastly. Don't have real brass. Pommel is easily noted different. There's about I would say probably an inch in difference in length. I would feel like the emitter and pommel are probably more accurately sized on this one. There are a few things I don't like about this. There's quite a few things I don't like about this. For starters, what messed me up was that I got commissioned to install this first. So I seen the beauty of this and the bulk of this and how right this feels, and then I seen that, and I was just like, oh, well, it's still nice. But, you know, comparison-wise, you're talking about $150 for that versus I believe this is around $500. So it's, yeah, quite a bit of a difference there. But, so I've shown you recharge port access. I did not adhere this in or anything, but whenever the pommel's on, clearly it stops it. So you have recharge port, and you can, actually I got it out without tweezers, cool. So you can access SD card through there. See the board, SD card's tucked down in there. It's not too difficult to get out. I was able to get it out no problem. I can see it easily here, but not in the camera. Now you can unthread this section. But you'll see that it's turning it. So if you ever, this is for the person that commissioned me for this. If you ever want to access that, it might take a while considering the threads are so deep. If you want to kind of hold this bottom end while you unthread, because you don't want to be twisting wires left and right. So, have your battery, your Prizm, and all that good stuff. So, you can see the switches are very sensitive. I left some thread on there because I didn't see the reason to shorten them anymore. They're already pretty low. You can tell. You can actually feel and hear this one click versus the other. You can hear that one clicking. This one is on point. It is right on that switch. Just a little press.
Things are about to get pretty nasty around here.
Just a little press will activate your auxiliary. But it's very responsive. Of course, again, just like before, just like taking it off, put it back in, hold it. Do not let those wires twist. Eventually they will snap. And the person who commissioned me for this is overseas, so that's the last thing you want to do is pay for shipping again on something like this. Considering this came from overseas, I believe it's Denmark, I believe is where this came from, who manufactured it. And you know, in all honesty, you could almost access the recharge port without even doing anything to this, because I mean there's a hole just big enough where you can see the recharge port. So I mean, granted that's quite a ways deep, so I mean you could probably fashion some type of, I don't know, deep socket kill key, I don't know, one that's like, you know, like this, but 4 inches long, done, I don't know. But anyways, that is my Saber reveal for the Katarn. There's quite a few other things that I have to say about this. Like, for instance, I'll start with the good. The good box they sent it in, really, really big. Lots of packing. They did really good on that. Now on to the bad. Actually, no. Another good thing was the brass rods. So whenever they first give you the brass rods, they already have them in the holes down here. There's no holes up top. They already have them in the holes with tape around it, which kind of helped to, I guess you could say, guide them in. So, you know, I did E6000, of course. So put a little bit of E6000 on each tip, stick them on in there, let it cure for a while, make sure they're the right length that you want by threading this back in. The threading points on this was there, 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 and there's also a threading point right there, which, yeah, pretty much holds these brass rods in place. Now, I'm trying to remember, that's right, the LED heatsink area. It's been about a month since I did this install, so bear with me. The LED heatsink area, this is one thing I didn't much care about it. It's right there. They send you the heatsink with it, and the heatsink actually goes up in that little area right there, and this black part pushes against it and holds it up. I don't like that, because then it's shining light all the way up through here. I mean, you're losing quite a bit. There's quite a bit for it to shine through. It reminds me of, you know, a lot of thin necks you see, where the LED would be down there below the thin neck section. So I didn't like that. So, granted, this was all blade depth from there to there. So, instead of putting it down here, got the heat sink, put it in there, measured, still got quite a bit of blade depth. A good inch to 1.25 inches, I believe. Secured it with some foam tape, so it's not going anywhere. Still got good heat dissipation. I didn't want to drill another set screw because I figured one set screw was enough, especially for a high dollar saber like this. wanted to minimize set screw visibility, similar to, let's say, a Roman's prop, or Roman props lightsabers. How those only have like one set screw in them, just for blade retention. So it's like, okay, it's not something you'd see on a real lightsaber, so why should you see it on a replica unless it's absolutely mandatory? Now, I did a 440 set screw for blade retention. That way it's as low profile as possible, you know, similar to Roman props. He does 440 set screws, and I like them. They're low profile, they still provide good grasp on blades. You know, I swung this around quite a bit just to test it, and it's good to go, man. One other kind of a concern, not too bad, it was probably like a quality control issue on Force Relics part. This shroud still had a crap ton of machine finish on it. It was not quite polished to the same level this shroud was. It was very noticeable straight out the box. So I took some fine grade steel wool and polished it up. So now you see what you have here in this video. And it turned out great. Another concern, last concern I do believe, unless I can think of another one right off the top of my head, was you'll see this line. Let's see if I can get it with that light shining. There we go. See that line right there where the switches are. I don't know if that was a machining line where they, you know, had it lined up to drill holes for the red greeblies. It seems almost there was no lines going horizontally, just vertically. So I don't know if, I feel as though there would be some horizontally too if it was for switch placement. So I don't know if that's an in-game accuracy or if that's a quality control escape or something like that. But either way, it still looks kind of cool, you know? I mean, looking at it that way. But the switches were kind of a beast of their own to get right. You know, Force Relics has a 3D printed part for tactile switches on this. So put in your 3D printed part, stack them on top of each other, get your switches in there, find out the right length you need. It's kind of a tedious process, but what lightsaber isn't? None of them are easy. That's all there is to it. But so of course these just thread in. You can tell that they're threaded screws, but there's a little bit of play in there. Just a little bit, enough to, you can actually hear it click. Wow, what am I doing? Trying to give you the speaker. Now this one's dialed in perfectly, so there's no clicking with that one. But pretty much I just dialed it in to where it was holding it down all the way, back it off, try it out 20 times, and it was fine. Then I ended up E6000ing, used E6000 on them to hold them in place. So should be solid, not going anywhere, and they work great, as you've already seen. So yeah, hope you enjoyed the video. Until next time, Saber fans, may the Force be with you always.